We're all back.
We are unmuted.
All right, we're going to call this meeting back to order. In closed session, the board took action to approve the expulsion of student number 2526-0203. The vote was unanimous. That's all we did there. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have changes and modifications to the agenda? Mr. Harris is not here. We are pulling an item, are we not? I think we are. We are pulling an item. We are pulling item number, where it is? Item number 15C, approval of certificated non-reelection resolution. Any other changes? Okay, hearing none. We have a ceremonial item, proclamation March as Self-Injury Awareness Month. Would someone like to volunteer to read that? I can read it. I'll do it. Make it big enough. Ooh, that's a little too big. All right. Proclamation March as Self-Injury Awareness Month. Whereas 17% of Americans will engage in self-injury in their lifetime, with methods like cutting, scratching, bruising, and hitting themselves, along with other more harmful methods. And whereas self-injury is used when individuals are unable to handle intense feelings, so they turn to self-injury as a way to express their feelings and emotions. And whereas self-injury can start at any age, the average age of the first incident of self-injury is 14 and ranges from 7% to 24% in school-aged adolescents. And whereas the incidence of self-injury is highest among female adolescents and those identifying as non-binary. And whereas the prevalence of non-suicidal self-injury has increased since 2020 because of isolation and the lack of mental health services for adolescents during the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas an average of 40% of those with a history of self-injury have attempted suicide at least once, and is highest during the first 6 months after an episode. And whereas self-injury can become a compulsive behavior and it may be difficult to stop this behavior. And whereas there is a need to break down the common stereotypes surrounding self-injury and to educate parents and medical and educational professionals about the condition, and to increase awareness of self-injury as a public health issue that needs to be taken seriously. Now, therefore, the Delaware County Unified School District Board of Trustees hereby proclaim March 2026 as Self-Injury Awareness Month. Be it further resolved that the Delaware County Unified School District Board of Trustees encourages all citizens to be informed of the warning signs and address the issue with our youth. Any questions on that from the board? Any public comment on the resolution?
There's no public comment at this time.
Okay, I'll bring it back to the board for adoption.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Could you poll, please?
Mr. Monterey?
Yes.
Mr. MacArthur?
Yes.
Mrs. Christ?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Mazie?
Yes. All right, we are on to reports. We have board member reports. Anybody?
I'll go.
Okay.
So Don and I kept up our meetings.
Donuts and discussions, yes,
Donuts and
7:30 in the morning.
discussions, 7:30 in the morning. Don gets there on time. That's amazing. We were at Mary Peacock, and we got to speak to some staff members. I just want to make the comment that we really would be very happy to have parents as well. We kind of had hoped that being there that early would allow parents to drop off their kids, and if they had something they wanted to talk about, could come in and talk about it. But also they're very busy in getting things done, but I just want to make it clear that we'd be very happy to speak to parents as well as staff members. So at Mary Peacock, we had some good discussions, but the one that really stuck out in my mind is something that wasn't unique to Mary Peacock, and it was a talk about a situation in a classroom where there was a student who was really extraordinarily disruptive, really significant behavioral problems, things that just made it, just took up so much of the teacher's time to deal with this one student and really had adverse effect on the rest of the kids. And this isn't the first time I've heard that. It amazes me that when we hear things about real problems, behavioral problems going on, oftentimes it can be just one child. It's not a big gang of kids running around creating problems. And it just really brought home to me how important it is to try to get help for these kids, to try to, I guess it would be a behavioral evaluation of them, things, and I think it's important to have those things in place. And based on the discussion we had, I think Mr. Harris was there, it seems like we do have those things in place. It's just a matter of availing ourselves sometimes and reminding the staff and people that they have those options to try to get some help in those situations. And then we also went to Mountain School, where we very often see a lot of parents, which is nice. One of the things I wanted to focus on for that is there was a parent there who was concerned about vaccines, and I hear this a lot in the community. People don't want to have their children vaccinated, and they're concerned about the vaccines, and of course they have to have them vaccinated per our policy to allow them into school. But our policy is much more limited in terms of the vaccines that are required than you would maybe find if you went into your pediatrician's office and they said, we have all of these vaccines for your kid. That's not what we require. And I pass out our policies to people who have questions about the vaccines. And we really thought it would be a good idea, based on this discussion, to have copies of our vaccine policy at the school site, paper copies that can be handed out to parents, and maybe even with the vaccines we do require highlighted. So it's very clear what is required and what isn't required, and that would give the parents maybe some leverage if they didn't want to have their kids have a lot of vaccines, but were willing to have them have the ones that we really required. So I'd really like to see that, if it's possible, to have that available at the school sites.
Yeah, so I think maybe if we did I just made a note to do a vaccine brochure that says,
yeah.
here's what's required by law, and the only ones that are required by law are the only ones we require.
Right.
And then to say, other vaccines such as may be recommended by a pediatrician, but we just have these.
These are the ones that, to come to our schools, this is what you need.
Make sure
because-
they understand there's that distinction.
Yes.
We can still have the kids.
Well, and also the other piece too, and I don't want to get into a full-blown discussion because this is a report, but the understanding that the only way to be excused from the vaccine is if a physician goes into care, which is the California, immunization records database, and the physician has to actually register in the care database and excuse the student, which if they excuse more than a certain number, they get audited by care. And that's why a lot of them won't do it. But that way, it helps families understand
Right.
the
And
process.
I would err on the side of very simple and very clear
Yeah.
if we're gonna do it. But I do think people would be really happily, I think they would be happy to see that what we require is a much more limited series of vaccinations. Because we'd love to have their kids here. And I think we're missing some kids who aren't coming because of
And
that.
that came up in the context of what we can do to build the population at Mountain so that we can keep it open.
Right.
And the parents that were there are very interested and invested in doing things that would maybe bring in some of those folks that are reluctant, and that's one of the reasons that for the reluctance. So if we could clarify that, that might bring 2 to 3 kids, or who knows how many. But I didn't know this, but evidently in the Gasky area, there are a number of kids who are homeschooled primarily because of that. So So that was one of the,
I just, and I know we don't want a full-blown discussion, but I can't help. I think the other thing that would be nice to have is if we can find a physician who would speak to an alternative schedule. When I
Yes.
was talking to when my son was first born and talking to the doctors, we put him on a schedule where he never got more than 2 shots at a time.
Yes.
And we never had these, a lot of them want to give 5 shots at a time because they have the kid right there and let's get them all. But you don't have to do that.
And the ages, they don't have to be as,
Yeah.
as young as they,
So
I mean,
there's
a lot of
there
things
that you
do.
can still protect your kids without
Yeah.
bombarding them with a lot of stuff. So I would be interested in what we can do to help parents with that.
there was also discussion out there of other ways that, or exploring alternatives for how we present curriculum and that kind of thing. I thought that was all useful, and we'll see where we come out.
And some really slick little chairs. They really are slick little chairs. They're little chairs that, they're little desks that they move.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they move,
Which
yeah.
Wiggle chairs.
turns out they move faster than I do.
You have anything, Frank? Okay.
Okay, I've been, went to a couple of schools, but I'm also involved in a number of, not just surveys, but active surveys for school board members, things that we do, and been asked to participate in a CSBA forum for school board members. To go ahead and meet with others throughout the state to go ahead and help out other school board members or so forth, and talk about it, discuss it, some of the issues, some of the things that we face with it and stuff, so. That and other political things, just be aware that there's gonna be a lot of education bills coming out of the legislature. They're in full roll right now, they're just really moving along with a lot of different ones. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, most aren't very good. Bringing more mandated things that we have to do without any money behind it. And so there are a number of things that are happening in different areas.
So I'll talk about our budget forum that we had last week. The topic was special education. And it was informative. It was a little, I don't want to use the word depressing, but it was, again, how much we are constrained by things that are beyond our control. The federal regulations, the state regulations, even the funding where we are looked at and can call attention to ourselves. If we don't spend at least as much this year as we did last year, they automatically think, well, you're not providing services if you're spending less money. So even if we find ways to economize without impacting services, we can get in trouble just because we're spending fewer dollars. So the impact on the general fund contribution and kind of, there weren't a lot of answers, but it was good discussion about how special ed impacts things, and a lot of areas for advocacy at the state and federal level. And again, we talked about that Mike does a lot of that, but it isn't just on one board member to do that. It isn't even just on all of us. It's on everybody to be calling and writing and saying, hey, this needs to be different. So it was good. It was, again, we're kind of shedding light on things that people don't always see, but not a lot we can do about it, so. Okay, we're done with ours. How about our student program?
Hello everyone. So I wanted to give an update on the Medical Sciences Club and its involvement in the Health Career Pathways Initiative. So beginning last spring, club members assembled these healthcare kits, and in this fall we distributed them to every first and second grade classroom in the county. These kits have structured lesson plans, storybooks, and student reflection journals. So these kits were designed to introduce students to healthcare in a way that's developmentally appropriate and also in a hands-on format. So I mentioned these lessons, so each lesson has a specific healthcare profession in mind. So the ones that we picked were nursing, nutrition, pharmacy, emergency medicine, and a mental health therapy. So teachers can go and they can schedule a time and a date that they want club members to come in, and they can teach these lessons to students. So this is an opportunity for early career exposure, but also when we created these lessons, we lined them so that they were in alignment with the Common Core standards for first and second graders. So this initiative was created with a broader regional initiative that's led by the California Center for Rural Policy. They have a variety of community partnerships. I think that includes United Indian Health and Human Services, Sutter Coast Hospital, Open Door, the Yurok Nation, College of the Redwoods, among many others. So, thank you.
Awesome. Very
Sounds
good.
great.
No.
Yeah.
Are you still selling your little medical kits?
We don't sell them, well, we might have a couple left over at Delner Office Supply, but I think we might have picked up the majority of them. But I can sell you one.
Actually, I bought mine at Delmore
Oh,
Office
really?
Supply,
Yeah.
yes, I did. That's why I was asking if you're still doing it. And,
We want to do more fundraising opportunities. Debbie Stover is really supportive of the club. She's been really kind with us. So we're looking towards in the future doing more, selling more things in addition to the first aid kits. So maybe selling like tote bags and water bottles.
Cool. Then you can market the whole set. All right, thank you. Okay, Del Norte Teachers Association. You're up.
Amber T. Pinkron, DNTA. I'm sorry, it's end of trimester. I've got kids messaging. So right now, that's kind of where everybody's focus is for the K-8 schools. The high school just ended their semester a couple weeks back. We're ending our next grading period at the end of the second trimester. So it closes tomorrow, and then everyone is scrambling to get grades in. For upper grade, it means 5,000 emails asking if there's anything they can do to get the grade up. I know you said you don't do extra credit, but could I get extra credit? And then we, in the elementary, because we do the standards-based report cards, it's a matter of taking all of those end of trimester assessments and then going, okay, where's this student at on this standard, and writing the comments. There, if you haven't looked closely at the K-5 report cards, they are intense. There are a lot of basically like reporting on where the student's at right now based on these assessments and comparing to first trimester. One of the things we talked about was making sure parents understand. We get a lot more feedback from parents on when they hit 6th grade with the grades. Suddenly, you've got parents that were like, report cards. And they're just kind of like, oh, they went from a 1 to a 2. I don't know that sometimes the parents fully understand what those 1, 2, 3s, and 4s mean. Which has got to be super frustrating considering how much time the K-5 staff puts into it. But we noticed that we see an immediate engagement increase and demand for students to do more, and that's because parents are familiar with A through F. They know what that means, they know what it looks like, they understand them. So we talked to a couple of the lower grade, and they're like, I wish there was some way to have parents relate our 1 through 4s to the grades they're familiar with, so they can get a mental image of like what that looks like and where they would like their student at, not just you started a 1 and by the end of the year a 3's good, 4's great, but they're not understanding that it's through the instruction and the daily lessons and then the assessment on top of that that those numbers are coming from. So just some way for parents to get more involved with those report cards, because we know that's tough. We don't have it coming up just yet, but we were excited to see the calendar for next year because we've moved the spring conferences, which are for every grade level in K-8 land, they're really important because we have to meet with parents one more time. We were having the conferences into 3rd trimester, which I will be honest, as a parent, I'm like, okay, we're almost done. Like we're about to go into testing and it's always such a short window. If your student has areas they need improvement, as a parent, it's super frustrating. And we really try to focus on those kids that need some more things and some more skills before they move on. So I was excited to see that CNI, they did survey staff, and we'll be moving those parent-teacher conferences to the end of second trimester. The nice thing is parents will be able to meet with us, and then they know what their student is going to be focused on and working on for the whole trimester to see that improvement. Because halfway through a trimester, especially with the end of year and testing, it wasn't ideal, so we were excited to see that shift. And then to piggyback off of what Abby got feedback at one of the sites, what we heard at the special education meeting was we had 145 special education assessments, and then there was like 45 that didn't qualify. Now, I'm gonna be honest, from the teacher perspective, they're like, it could mean we're over-referring, or it could mean that I've now narrowed it down. I'm not shocked by that. I don't consider it over-referring, but if I've done all my interventions and we've had student study team meetings, and to that point, or the parent is like, I would like my kid assessed. It's so much easier to move forward once you know there's not an underlying learning disability that is keeping the student from making progress. I was one of those kids that didn't qualify. Every year we've put it off because it gets to the end of the year. So by the time 7th grade, mom's like, nope, I want to know if there's something else. Is it just really just the hyperactivity or something else? It has made it so much easier. It's also kind of helped the student because now he knows there isn't something else. So I know from the special education department perspective that we heard at the budget meeting, they're like, that could mean we're over-referring, but from the general ed perspective, we don't refer kids until we went through an exhaustive student study team process. There's paperwork, and you all know how I feel about paperwork. So no general ed teacher is sitting back filling those forms out just because a student's a little bit off. We do have some parents that request testing right away. Like they come in, if they put that in writing, we know that we follow through with the testing, but teachers are doing everything they can with the SST process. We have multiple SSTs, we always do follow up. What interventions from this last 6 weeks worked, what didn't, what new things can we try? And I think we're at some of the school sites, we might have school sites that feel like they're over-assessing. So some of those newer teachers need more support in how to proceed with the SST process. Because the teacher in question reached out to me. Thank you for going there, because I think that kind of, she's like, hey, I heard you used to do some stuff with special ed. Can I get some help on a student that my interventions in class aren't working? So I'm going to be working with her on helping her get through the SST process. But we probably need to make sure our new teachers feel supported in that, and that they don't feel like because they're new, there's something else they could be doing in class. Or because they don't see the veteran teacher down the hall having those problems. Sometimes it's one student, and they feel like I should be able to handle one student. So I'm glad that teacher reached out. I'm glad she spoke up, I'll be honest, because I wasn't sure how vocal staff would be at those meetings. But we can look at that and then try to better support from the DNTA perspective. We're gonna make sure that our newer teachers know what the SST process is, and that it's their right to do that. So even if they're like, oh, we have a lot of people being referred for special ed, that they're not, even if it's unintentionally dissuaded from going there, documentation is awesome because we're toward the end of the year. With that documentation, with the forms and process that the district has set up for student study teams, that follows that student in. So at the beginning of the year, I'm not reinventing the wheel when that little now first grader rolls in. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can look back and see what interventions worked, which interventions didn't, and what other supports they were getting, even if they moved from that school to my school, or they have a brand new teacher. So we're gonna do more to reach out to those teachers and make sure they understand the SST process and know that they shouldn't feel like they're over-referring. That if they've went through the SST process, that will help them know if it's a good time to refer. And again, my parent, I was like, oh no, is she gonna be mad that they didn't qualify? She wasn't at all. She's like, cool. Now I know it really is, the hyperactivity is playing a bigger role in affecting the academics, and I can work with that. So I like that. I agree with you that the special ed meeting did not doom and gloom, but
Yeah.
it is a big cost, and there are things that keep our hands tied a bit with special education. I was excited to hear that they are looking at some other positions so that we are retaining staff, because that's been one of the biggest issues is for teachers, our support staff is awesome, but sometimes keeping support staff, it's a high burnout job. So keeping those steady, regular support staff at the district really helps us out in the classroom as well as the other people in special education. And the last thing is, I got some emails this morning. People are concerned with the site logic stuff that's on the agenda tonight. That's a big price tag. And so I had it brought to my attention that some people are like, I would rather secure my campus. Our campuses are real hard to secure though, I realize. But the price tag on that is really freaking some people out. So I'm hoping that, I've asked them they won't comment online, they're not those teachers. But I told them that to at least listen in online when you guys are doing the discussion so they can get more information on that. I appreciated the information that you could get on the agenda when you open it and see some of the numbers. But I just wanted to be clear that I had at least 10 emails where people were like, they were concerned when they looked at the price on that. So they may comment. I'm just not gonna hold my breath. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask a quick question? Amber?
Yeah.
I'm just not quite remembering it, because I've come across RTI, response to intervention. Is that part of the SST process, or is that?
It is. It's that pendulum in education. RTI was the next greatest thing that was gonna just get everybody up to. Mike's nodding. He knows. It's gonna get everybody up to grade level. It's the next best thing. We still do response to intervention. It's just at our district we've worked into the SST process specifically into tiers now. So what, like tier 1 interventions are what academic and behavioral, what are an intervention that you would use for anybody in your classroom, just day to day. If you go into classrooms, they might have a common corner, they might have a buddy classroom where kids can go work, and then it still follows the RTI model. It's just that we just kind of stopped calling it response to intervention. We just call them tiers now. And then we have the next tier of interventions. That's usually when we're calling a student study team. Our tier 1 isn't working. So we call the student study team, and when tier 2 isn't working, tier 3 are the students that need usually the most academic or behavioral interventions. And if it's following the happy RTI pyramid, it should be a very small percentage at the top that need those extra supports.
Okay.
So yeah, it's still there. We just kind of switched it to tiers.
Okay,
on the
I
verb.
just didn't quite understand. I thought I lost something there.
No, they just changed how they talk about it.
Don't go yet.
And
They're just trying to keep me confused is what the problem is.
I had one question. Tom, weren't you with us at Mary Peacock?
Yes.
Weren't they talking about the grades 1 through 5, where they wanted to be able to help the parents start to learn what that meant, and they were gonna think about a process for putting a grade, a numeral grade? Wasn't that something we were talking about?
It was something that we
Yeah.
were talking about.
So they're thinking about that at Mary Peacock, how to deal with that
And it was
situation.
specifically because of what you're talking about, where they had a hard time understanding the standards-based and what they wanted, and this is particularly parents of 5th graders whose kids are
Right,
going
they're
on
gonna
to
be
6th
moving
grade.
on, yeah.
They want to sort of transition that to the A, B, C, and D system. It's a little bit difficult to do right now at this point of the year.
Right.
But it's something that they wanted to talk about the feasibility of it.
And one of the things we found is some of us are just natural test takers. So on those standards-based report cards, we base it on assessment. But what we have is we have some kids, especially if they're like advanced, that they might not be doing their daily work. And what's gonna happen when they hit 6th grade is it's not just a test anymore. And so for some of those 5th grade parents, they get nervous because their kid can hit a wall because they don't have those skills. And as a parent, if your kid's scoring 3s and 4s, you don't get that there's a red flag with the daily work. I think we have like in-class on-task behavior, but it's like a satisfactory or unsatisfactory, so it's not the majority. So I know we're gonna talk to work with teachers on making sure they have a way to explain it to parents, to show where that may affect them down the line. And then, yeah, I've heard a lot of talk that people want to move to something, because we get their attention in 6th grade. As soon as they hit middle school, there's all of a sudden, and they're like, I've been talking to those parents for years. And when they hit us, and as soon as those grades come in, that the parents definitely are more tuned in because they're comfortable with it. It's something they're familiar with.
And as a parent, I can identify with that. I never figured
Yeah.
out the standards-based. It's like, I think he's doing okay, the teacher says he's doing okay. All right, California School Employees Association.
Hello, Sean Michael Schubert, CSA Great Northern 178 President, and we spent about 7 hours with our negotiating team to try and get our sunshine report in. Hopefully next week you'll get it, and then we'll work out all the little details. The CSAP, tomorrow's the last day. I've been trying to tell everybody to sign up. I think some people were a little confused about it, but I'm hoping that they've been reaching out to other directors to ask them a little bit about it. But that's that California Summer Assistance Program,
that's
the
really
10%. So, but everybody I've talked to signed up for it, so that's gonna help them out not this summer, but the next summer, and, they'll have a good summer. They'll have a little extra cash to go to the parks or whatever, so, and that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, superintendent's report.
So, you now have a personnel commission.
Yay!
So I just want to give a big shout out. Thank you to CSEA Patty Rommel, who stepped up to be the CSEA rep. Of course, Kristen Lima is your rep. And then they have a neutral who they hopefully will be appointing sometime in the next couple of weeks. And so it should be a full team that can start moving forward to clear some of the backlog that we've had. So just a few things that have been going on. I'm also going to give a shout out to Dan. He probably wishes I didn't say this. There was an accidental communication that went out about ICE on the campus. It did not happen. The USA staff were doing exactly what they needed to, which was prepping to follow state law in the event that an enforcement was happening. Dan and his team responded exceptionally well, very quickly, got information out, and did just a wonderful job with that. So Dan, I just want to thank you publicly for that.
Thank you.
And then last week I had my first state SARB meeting, being on the state SARB board, and I have to tell you, it's no wonder that our attendance processes in the state are screwed up. It was probably the worst meeting I've ever attended in my life.
That's saying something.
I can't even tell you, they didn't follow legal procedure. There was an attorney there who quickly got off so that he wouldn't have to say anything because he was not providing legal counsel to the State Department of Education, who was running the meeting. And there were just some huge red flags, and these are the people that are telling us how we are supposed to help our families. It was insane. So anyway, I hope those get better, or my tenure on there will be very short-lived.
Or you'll be in charge.
Also, we were able to do a co-present with the system improvement leads on the work that our special education team and our direct technical assistance team have been doing with the different state agencies. And honestly, they held our staff up as an example of a staff who is willing and able to do the hard work in the face of a lot of adversity that happens because of being a rural and remote location. And we were able to really talk to, I think there were a couple of districts and a bunch of county offices that were there, and we were able to say, hey, from a district perspective, here are the issues, here are the problems that districts face. And in this really unique situation that we have of being a county office that supports a single district, or single district county, here are the ways that we're engaging and we're interfacing, and here's what our teams look like, and here's how we've done it. And there were a lot of people at the state level going, wow, this would be cool if we could replicate what Del Norte is doing. So it was pretty nice. And again, just big kudos to everybody who sits on the DTA overall team and the SIM, which is the Compliance Improvement Monitoring, and the Direct Technical Assistance team, because I think just another way that we're showing the professionalism that we have in our county. And then I was able to sit with Abby. We met with Partnership for Performing Arts. We talked about their feasibility study that they had done, about some what that funding looks like, what may be coming down the road, how to leverage anything that we could possibly think of moving forward to try to fund the Performing Arts Center. So I think there's going to be some outreach to legislators. There's going to be some different pieces that we're going to try to do. And then I was approached, and I said, we'll have to talk about this. I do not believe it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea, but I know that we'll have some people that are concerned about it. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife, I met with them a while back out at the Grange. We were talking about some opportunities for partnership. I met with two of the wardens yesterday, and they are extremely interested in coming into schools and teaching outdoor safety, conservation, and being part of the hunter safety program. So at the end of it, if a student chooses to, they can take the test to be able to get a hunting license, or if they don't have to, they just learn all of the safety and the outdoor responsibility and everything else. And they would like to get into every class at a particular grade level at some point. And so we have an idea about how we want to start that. And so, again, I think it's a great idea. So many of our kids don't know those really important things, or even if it's on the firearm front, they may have access to a firearm or have a fascination with the firearm. And this is a way to kind of demystify some of that, but that's not the whole focus, right? And I think I think it's just an important thing for our kids to do. It's 10 hours. We're looking at doing it at the very end of the school year, so it doesn't impact the instruction or the assessments or anything else. But we're starting to flush out some plans, so I think that'll be a good opportunity for our kids. And that was it.
Okay.
So, but I do want to give the CDFW guys a big shout out. Like I said, I met with them about a month ago, and I told them that I thought it was a good idea. They reached back out to set up the meeting, and again, I think they're going to be another really great partner, along with all of our other state and federal partners that we work with. So.
Nice.
Oh, and then lastly, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
The Building Bridges Summit this Saturday. So we're expecting a sellout auditorium. It runs from 10 until 2:30. So we've got, at this point, I think I was talking to Lisa the other day, I think we have over 300 people that have said they were coming to the actual summit component, and another 90 to 100 students that are going to be off-site, or more, that are going to be off-site doing activities while their families and their older siblings are engaged with the summit. So,
And it's being held where?
Crescent Hill, and registration needs to be done in advance. I believe that they're full or beyond full, but if people are interested, they can always go online and check it out.
You said 9 o'clock earlier today.
9 o'clock is kind of pre-conference. For folks who don't necessarily have students in the schools, who may be elected officials, to talk about basically what their organizations can do to support students and families and some of the efforts that we have. The conference itself starts at 10. And that's it.
Are you sure?
I won't interrupt again.
Are you sure? Yeah, that'll be the day. All right, any questions about any of that? Okay, our next item is informational. We have CSBA policy first reading. And Uncharted Shores Academy charter petition. These don't necessarily require any action, they're just on for us to take a look at them. They will all be coming back later for further action. All right, we are now at public comments. This is an opportunity for comments by the public on non-agenda items, which means anything that is not in the discussion and possible action section. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board, and we take public comment for a total of 20 minutes. So is there any general public comment?
Dan Cartwright, Uncharted Shores Academy. Since Mr. Harris brought it up, I just wanted to let the board know, when we had an incident last week, Mr. Harris was probably in fact, I was in the middle of an IEP meeting, I had a phone call from him, and so I answered. So I just wanna say I really do appreciate the district's partnership and how last week as we worked through that, Jeff was particularly helpful, as was Michael Hawkins. So I just want to thank you guys.
Anyone online?
There's no online public comment.
Okay, anyone else in the room? All right, hearing none, we're going to close general public comment. We are now at the consent agenda. We have the district board meeting minutes of February 12th, 2026. We have field trips. We have contracts over 20,000, and the Uncharted Shores Academy Comprehensive School Safety Plan for 2026. Do you have any questions from the board on any of those items?
I do actually.
Okay.
I have a question about the contract for the architectural services for Crescent Oak bleachers. This looks like it's a potentially $150,000 project, but this is a lump sum for $24,000. Is this just the architectural drawings? What is this, the preliminary?
The cost of the project is $23,935. It is in partnership with True North. They're using a portion of their funding for this project.
Okay.
And that 0150, that's just a resource number, the way we track it. So it looks kind of confusing the way it's written out there. But Studio W is our new architect partnership that we've been working with. They're the vendor that we recently have the master facility plan.
Okay.
Right? So yeah.
So the 23,000 will, that's for the installation, the whole project,
Yes.
not just architecture?
Yes.
Oh, that's the whole project.
Yeah.
And
That's
is that,
amazing.
is that
Well,
our share?
let me
plus-
clarify that. I think this is just for the architectural services, not the construction and the whole thing.
Yeah, because that's what, it looks like the
Yes.
construction cost budget is $150. And what I really, just out of curiosity, there's a charge for bidding assistance. What does that mean?
Oh, they help they
Oh,
work
with the
with
contractors.
the contractors
Okay,
that
got
are
it.
bidding and
Okay.
make sure they,
Yeah.
everything
Okay.
gets followed the right way.
So
Yeah,
this,
the
we're just
musical
approving the 24,000 for the initial work, and then we'll probably come back at some point for the construction.
Yes, I didn't have it pulled up in front. I have it pulled up in front of me now, so
So,
I'm looking at that.
I'm gonna show my ignorance. To me, bleachers don't seem like a really complicated architectural endeavor.
Oh, welcome to the city
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome to state involvement. Your price
Yeah.
automatically goes up
Okay.
double.
Words that strike fear. We're with the state. We're here to help.
We're here
Yes.
to help. So this is to make sure that all of
PSA.
all of that stuff gets done properly. Okay.
All right, and then I had one other question, with the Uncharted Shores, the school safety plan. My question was only this, we heard a week or a meeting or two ago about how we're trying to use language very carefully for lockdown, various things we're reporting happening at the schools. And I just wanted to make sure, I didn't have it in my head clearly enough to make sure that Uncharted Shores is on board with the same definitions. Does that question make sense? If you don't mind addressing that?
Yeah.
I think it was it's on page 44 of the safety plan, yeah. If
So-
you want to open that up.
Yeah, so this current safety plan reflects, you redo your safety plan every year.
Mhm.
And this current safety plan reflects months of work from our safety committee. The school district has adopted, the.
Standards response protocol.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And so they've shared it with us, and our school safety committee has agreed we want to go to that too. We want to
Okay,
make sure
good.
we're all in the same
Yeah, that's,
thing. And so we're kind of in the process of doing that, and that will reflect on our next year's school safety plan, but we will probably be doing that protocol, fully by probably the beginning of next school year. We'll fully train our staff on it. and
Okay.
doing that.
yeah, it just makes sense, because
Yeah.
if your kids are moving around too, and you want to
Right.
know that a word means a word.
And for
So-
our first responders, I mean,
Yeah.
we just want to all be speaking the same language.
Okay.
It very much makes sense, and it's a good program too, so, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, do we have any public comment on the consent agenda?
There's no public comment at this time.
Okay, bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Could you poll, please?
Mr. Margarino,
Yes.
Mr. MacArthur,
Yes.
Mrs. Chris,
Yes.
Mr. Cleary,
Yes.
Mrs. Maisy.
Yes.
And do we have a preferential vote
yes.
from Ms. Audrey?
Yes, it would be yes.
Thank you.
All right, discussion possible action. First item is the Del Norte Unified School District Mid-Year LCAP report. Mr. Kissinger.
Thank you, Board President Maisy, Board Members, Superintendent Harris, Assistant Superintendent Bowen, and members of the public and staff. It's nice to see you all here. This mid-year update is for the school district. We did the county one earlier this afternoon, and every year, school districts are required to report on expenditures and program performance in the middle of the LCAP year. And if you go to the first slide, you'll see that out of the almost $9 million that are budgeted in the supplemental and concentration grant funds that we get, as of January 31st, we've spent just over, almost about 53% of that too. So we're looking pretty good with that. If we go to the goals, the first goal is student achievement. We have many metrics, so I'm not going to go through all 17 metrics. I do want to cover the first one, and that's 1.1, and that has to do with our test scores, our state test scores. You'll see that, and again, 25, 26, we don't have the data yet because the testing doesn't happen until April. But in 24, 25, in ELA, English Language Arts, the district inched up a little bit, almost 3 percentage points, and in math, about 2 percentage points, but we're still far away from the math target and closer to the English Language Arts target. We have many, many more metrics that we cover here. I'd like to just go down to metric 1.5, and that is something we've really been working on, and that is has to do with our long-term English learners. Has been a big problem in our district for many years. And this year, in 24-25, we've decreased our LTELs, or long-term English learners, by about 12.5%. And so we're moving in the right direction. Last year, we were moving in the wrong direction. And so we're hoping to eventually get down to 10% or lower, and we want no long-term English learners, but we're making progress in that area. Another metric I'd like to bring to your attention is 1.8, and this is decreasing our 4-year cohort dropout rate. In our entire district, we had only 7 students drop out, slight increase over the previous year, but still under 4%. And we are working closely with our high school principal, our alternative high school principals and staff to catch every student when they're struggling and try to help them so that we have no students who drop out of school. Look down to 1.11. This is something that we should be very proud of in our county and our district. Our graduation rate for foster youth is 85.7%, which exceeds the graduation rate of the state significantly for that population, and 83% for homeless students. I'd like to give a particular shout out to Pam Wilder and her team at the Epicenter. They give their heart and soul every day to those kids who need the most help and make sure that they're ready to come to school. They make sure that they're fed, that they're clothed, that they're housed, and they are on this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sometimes I'll get a call on a Friday afternoon at 7 p.m. We'll have a student who's all of a sudden been homeless, and it'll be a foster youth. Pam and her team work with the county and services from social services to make sure that student has a roof over their head for that night, and then they put a plan together. So it's not just about that, but it's about making sure they get access to their education, which is why we're here. But they do a tremendous job, and they're a model program in our state, in our state, in our area, and in our country. They're amazing. Another metric I'd like to bring up to you is 1.13, where we're making more progress. These are the percentage of high school students who have completed at least one career tech course pathway, up to 15% from 8. We're actually really moving much higher than that too, because our high school has done a tremendous job working with the counselors and career tech ed staff to make sure they're taking the capstone courses and that is part of their academic program. I'd also like to actually, now we can go to our actual actions. We actually have about 10 or 11 actions. The first one is, these are all things that we're doing to improve student achievement. 1.1 is instructional assistants that were added to sites a few years ago. We only have one of them in there right now, and that's position 320 at Almanac. And you'll see throughout this, we've added more positions at Almanac over the years in order to provide additional support to that school. If you look to 1.5, that is our largest ticket item, and that is maintaining our staff to keep our class sizes low. And we may not think we have super low class sizes, but without this, we would have much higher class sizes. So we've spent almost half of the budgeted $2.6 million for that. If you go to 1.7, this is our funding for our English learner staff. This is everything that we do to support English learners. Everything is in there for budget, for our budget here, and we're close to halfway this year so far. And then if you go to action 1.10, 1.10 are all of our intervention and assessment programs that are in the LCAP. These are things that our teachers and administrators have asked for to be in the LCAP and be part of the program. These are our supplemental programs. And we are really taking a close look at each one of them this year to see which of those are really worthwhile and we're getting a tremendous amount of value, and which ones we are not. And we've already had 3 community LCAP meetings so far, and we've gotten a tremendous amount of data and information about some of these that people feel are really working, and others that maybe we should rethink. So we've been getting some good data. If we go to LCAP goal number 2 is increasing student attendance. Let's look at the metrics there for a second. Our overall district attendance rate's pretty good. It's almost 90%. State doesn't really care about that as much, but we care about all of our kids coming to school. The metric that people look at the most is called chronic absenteeism. And that means students who miss 20% or more of the school year. And so it's, if we have 180 days in a school year, actually it's 10, is it 10% or is it 20%? 10%. 10%, so it would be 20 days or something like that. So our chronic absenteeism rate in the last few years has gone down significantly. Right now, mid-year 2026, it's a typo on my part, it's 21%, and we're pretty confident we're going to get as a district under 20% this year. Back in the middle of COVID, when it was 2021, our numbers in 19 and 20, our numbers were in the 40s and 60s. So we're really making a lot of progress right there. And again, if you look at our foster and homeless students, a lot of progress, down significantly in both, and it really is, we're doing pretty well there. If you go to the actual things that we're funding for goal number 2, one are school-based incentives to support attendance. And our schools really haven't tapped into that much. And it's kind of interesting to have the community meetings this time of year where they can see, oh, we have additional funds that we can use for that. 2.2 is our music program. We added a position a few years ago. We've kept that position. And we look at music as another program that really keeps kids interested in being at school. 2.3 is our student transportation program. If we don't have buses taking our kids to school, many of them would not get to school. And that's 2.3, and 2.4 is our Howland Hill and Sunset High School experiential learning program. If Mr. Fabricas were here tonight, he would be talking about it. He does a tremendous job sharing information about that program. And then 2.5.
So before you move
Yeah.
off of this, the transportation, we budgeted 1.4 million, but we're spent go back down.
Go back, yeah.
There you go. Just a little over $1 million, so we're clearly not 50%. Are there other places where we're gonna be able to balance that, or is there a reason it's front-loaded like that, or?
Yeah, it's, with transportation, we get some state money, which is about $356,000 at the end of the year. Overall cost of transportation, we look at it on an annual basis, is right about 1.8, 1.9 total. So, that state revenue, we don't get really till the end of the year as we kind of close the books and use.
So we spend the LCAP money first?
Yes.
Okay.
And the
that
state
makes sense.
comes in behind it. And then in the end, it ends up being about 1.8 for transportation.
Okay, thank you.
Go to LCAP goal number 3 is our strengthening our culture of collaboration. And what we look at is the meetings that we're having and the quantity of engagement meetings we're having, site council meetings, DLAC. We're doing pretty good. If you look at, as site reported, 3.2, we have family engagement liaisons at every school except for a couple of them. And we're actually having lots of events and lots of families coming and attending, and many of them are academically based now, where we're drawing people in, talk about a subject, and how parents can help their kids learn that subject. So this is something that we're doing a lot right now. If we look at, go to 3.4 for a second. The Family Summit we had last year, we had 85 registered adults attending. As of the other day, this is just registered adults. We had 143. This is for Saturday's program. And many of those are coming with children. We are expecting to have over 300 people there. So it's to everyone who's been working on that, it's just an amazing thing, and we're really looking forward to it. Goal number 4, having schools that are safe, clean, and welcoming. Our suspension rate is down from 8.8% in 22-23 down to 5.8% mid-year this year. I say 2025, but it's 26. 4.4%. We actually think we're going to go under 4%. For students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged, it's 7.1%. And for foster youth, it's down to 7.2%, a significant drop from the previous year of 18.7%. And again, we look at our school facilities and conditions. Most of our schools are not in great condition, but we don't have any in good condition, but we only have 2 now that are in poor condition. So that's progress. Other metrics, yes, go ahead.
And this may not be the right
Sure.
forum to ask this, but like looking at Crescent Elk, they have had a lot of work done and a lot of funding put into that school, and it's still in poor condition.
No, I was,
The Joe Hamilton just had a lot of work put into it, and it only went from poor to fair. So I'm concerned about, we're not, even when we have the opportunity to bring our schools up, we're still not getting there. So, again, this may not be the place to have this conversation.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, and so what I would say, Charlene, is this, what the LCAP does is it just looks at the metric and it's gonna push
Right.
some things here to talk about what are the conditions that students are going to school with. I think if the board really wants to hear about what the FIT tool is, the facility inspection tool, we could have Josh come in and talk about the FIT, so you could actually see what that FIT looks like, what it would take for a school to go from poor to good. Right now, the only facility, and you heard this during the county board meeting, the only facility in our entire county that's in good condition is, wait, let me see. Would you think the high school is good?
School's good.
It's not. It's only fair. So the high school went from poor to fair. The only facility that's good right now is the community school on the county office side. Even though the high school is great inside, right? So I think understanding what the FIT tool asks,
That would be nice.
that would help you understand, because a lot of people think that poor means like we have mold in the ceilings are caving in, right? That's not what it is. But it's how the state adjusts that and looks at it. We actually have a third party who comes in and does it for us to avoid any,
Bias.
yeah, bias in that process, you know, so somebody says, oh, well, you're grading them too high. No, we have a third party that comes in, does all of this.
And I know we see those reports when they're
Right.
done, there's just not that linkage. I mean, this is really very stark, that this is what they were, this is what they are, but knowing that we put a lot into these, why,
Well,
if it's just a standard that is too hard to meet, then,
well, it's not too hard to meet, it takes money. And what happens is we just saw it with bleachers, right? $200,000 to replace bleachers. Think about replacing an entire awning system out at Smith River that has aged out, that's supporting air conditioning units that were never meant to go on that breezeway, right? So as we start talking, we're talking millions of dollars, and 2 years ago, we went for a bond, the bond didn't pass. And that was for, I believe, was it 50 million, 45 million?
59, but who's counting?
Don said 59, but who's counting? And we know that when Steve Morgan was here, he said to really get all of our facilities up to where they need to be to all be in good, we were talking $200 million. So even 50 or 60 million
not gonna be.
is gonna keep a lot of these in fair and maybe push them higher in the rankings, but still not get everybody to good.
Is the state still withholding maintenance funds, or not giving them to us right away, Greg, or? with the state?
Elaborate on that a little bit more.
Taking a long
In the
time.
past, the state has delayed funding. Okay.
Yeah, I
They're-
don't, yeah. I guess what I think of is like the OPSC projects and how we have to front the money, and you've got to go through a number of different reports to receive that money.
I'm talking about a Prop 98 where they have actually delayed payments for maintenance stuff. Are they
No.
doing that right now?
They're not doing that
Yeah,
right
no.
Yeah. But just to let you know, we did file a letter in support of a class action suit going forward by the state. Basically, it says that we should be getting a true share of the funding that comes from state bonds. We shouldn't be struggling to bring a school from poor to fair when another school down south is able to build a $100 million brand new facility simply because their old one has gotten older and it's like 30 or 40 years old, and our Crescent Oak facility is almost 100 and
Something, yeah.
so.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna move on to LCAP goal number 5, which is a new one. And that is the district and the county also get a new source of revenue, and that's called equity multiplier funds. And this is where they take students who are performing in the lowest categories, which we would call in the red, on the state dashboard. And the district gets additional funding to support students where they are in the red for those metrics. So all of these metrics here are areas where our students were underperforming significantly. What you can see though, and they give you a target where they want us to be in a few years. One of the things that's interesting here is in every single one of these categories, we're moving in the right direction. We may not be moving very quickly, going from 23.72% to 25.72%, but we're not going backwards, and that's a positive. If you go to the next page, you'll see there are a lot of these metrics, and the state requires us to go through each one of these metrics. And the only one that we kind of went backwards a little bit is reducing the suspension rate for students with 2 or more races, and that was just a minor change. But if you look at everything else here, everything else is in the green. And so it kind of lets us know, our target lets us know where we need to shore up our resources and work more. But again, we're moving in the right direction here. Goal number 5 only has a few actions. And the first one you're going to see is tied to Sunset High School, and that is because a lot of those metrics came from the students at Sunset High School. They give us additional funds there. They have a pretty elaborate plan, but have not activated a lot of those funds. So we're going to be working with Mr. Fabricas on that. 5.2 is, again, it's at Sunset. And it's incentives and alternatives to suspension programs. They're doing a lot of that stuff, but haven't used a lot of these funds. Not a tremendous amount here, and they've only spent a little bit, but they can access these funds. If you turn to 5.3 and 5.4, this is district-wide. And so we have additional funds to give staff for certificated teachers, tutoring. We budgeted $25,000, and then we also have the same for counseling and social work services at 5.4. So we haven't dipped into these funds yet, but we certainly can, and we want to work with our schools to make sure they're accessing that.
Can you help me understand that a little more? We have the funds to do the tutoring, but we're not doing the tutoring.
Yeah, right now, a lot of the tutoring is happening in other programs too, like expanded learning or whatever, but we have funds that schools could use if their teachers wanted to tutor students after school, on the weekend, in the evening, in the morning. We have additional funding for that.
Okay.
Abby, just clarify, I think these services are happening, they're just tapping into other funding sources where there's another bucket of funds that we can tap into here for the remaining of the year.
Because we've got 0, we're not spending any money in these last 2 action plans at this point.
But we can tap into them, and so hopefully we will. And so this is where we're at in the middle. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess my question is just on the same line as we have these funds, we're not using them. And I know they're in the, LCFF, but can't we change them and use them someplace? And can we bring them back into the general fund for next year's LCFF?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because after this year, the next year starts an entire new LCAP. And so with these plans, these are the plans we started with a few years ago. We want to kind of keep along with them to see if we can continue to make progress. Next year, in 26, 27, we're doing an entire new LCAP for 27 and 28. So we can certainly change course then. But what we want to do here, because we've been talking to the schools and talking with the principals and teachers, they want to use these funds. So we just want to make sure that they have plans to do so, and they've some of them are exhausting other pots of money that they have to do that, because they have different, like Greg said, different pots of money. But having the community meetings, I mean, they get to see this, and I think they will spend all this by the end of the year.
And so Mike, I think kind of to your and Abby's point, goal 5 is specifically around equity multiplier. So this is a chunk of money called equity multiplier that comes in. Sunset is the one that qualifies for equity multiplier. Their money has to be spent only there and only on the student populations that drive that, which is why those students are the ones that are being reported. And then the district's funds have to be spent on activities that support those same sorts of outcomes. You can't take that 50,000 and, you know, go do something else. You have to focus it on those. And like
Yeah,
we're saying.
thank you, it's much more.
It really does, right now we're utilizing a lot of funds, Title I, Title III, just all kinds of different resources. This equity multiplier, was it 1 year old, 2 years old?
This is the second year.
Second year. So it's relatively new, so making sure that folks are spending it in the way that it's supposed to be spent, it's a relatively new funding stream. So, and it's a new addition to the output, like Tom was saying.
Okay, so what we have here on this 5154, this is all for Sunset?
No,
Except for the
5.3,
50,000.
Okay.
the 5.3 and 5.4 are district-wide.
Okay.
And how much was 5.3?
That was, I think,
25.
So 50,000, oh,
Yeah.
that's where you said it's up for 50,000, okay.
And they're split, so certificated at 200 hours, classified at 200 hours for tutoring supports.
So I think, and maybe 50,000 is not even a drop in the bucket here, but this is targeted at existing staff taking on more. And would it be utilized better if we had, or is there enough to hire part-time folks to come in and do the tutoring, not asking our existing folks to stay after school or do it on weekends or any of that
A
kind of
3.5 hour para is about $20,000.
Okay, well, that answers that question.
so you guys have any more questions or comments?
No, but thank you.
For
It's
the
good to see the,
tutoring, can we use high school students? Have them in
They're a
there?
lot cheaper.
So actually we can, and
We
that's
can?
one of the things, what's that?
You can?
Yeah, we could. What we could do is, if no one else is accessing these funds, we could do it through work experience, we could do
Yeah.
it through whatever.
It's an open, another venue.
Right.
No.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Good.
All right, is there any other questions from the board on this? All right, no questions. Is there any public comment?
There's no public comment at this time.
Okay, bring it back to the board for a motion.
A motion to approve?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Could you poll, please?
Mr. Margarino?
Yes.
Mr. MacArthur?
Yes.
Mrs. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Maisy?
Yes.
Ms. Audrey, do you have a preferential vote?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna take one more, because I think this one should be quick, and then we'll take a brief break. Approval of position action changes.
So this is complex. No, I'm kidding.
No,
So,
I looked at it, it's not.
It's, we have 2 ERMS counselors. Well, first of all, if I can speak on this, since the folks are not here, but we have two ERMS counselors now. They're
real
fun.
quick, so ERMS is educationally related mental health.
Service provider.
Yes, yeah.
2 of them are funded through,
It's on the screen.
But we have people who may be listening online.
good one. Through Humboldt Del Norte SELPA. They fund 2 positions. There's a strong demand to obviously bring on an additional one based on current workloads. So this is through our Medi-Cal billing. It's a separate funded source. It has to go through a committee in order to be approved. It has gone through that process now, so That committee has approved an additional ERMS counselor, so really this is the final step before creating that position.
And I want to be clear, you know, we've talked to you about funding other positions out of Medi-Cal and private pay insurance. This is not the same. This is a different pot of money. This is LEA Medi-Cal BOP. So this is a different Medi-Cal bucket.
It says Medi-Cal billing.
Yeah, well, Medi-Cal, so you've got Medi-Cal that's specifically under the special education side of the house. And then you've got Medi-Cal that anybody can access on the other side. This is the special education Medi-Cal bucket.
Okay.
Any questions from the board? Any public comment?
There's no public comment at this time?
I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll move to approve the position action change.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Could you poll, please?
Mr. Margarino?
Yes.
Mr. MacArthur?
Yes.
Mrs. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Maisie?
Yes.
Miss Audrey, what is your preferential vote?
Yes.
All right, let's take about a 5-minute break, and we'll come back at 6.
You are muted.
Thank you.
The seat.
If we could make that happen, that'd be great. It's super easy, right? Yeah, that's true. Hey, it's not bad. It's just that extra long one, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, all you guys do was that, just get a plan. Hey, Rose, where are we on Central City? Have you got the architect yet?
He survived.
That seemed like your tail.
Yeah. Well, we've already signed that contract with
I don't know if you want to go get it all of the materials. I don't expect you to pack it. So that is what I heard.
Well, you heard about it. I mean, they expanded way too quickly. And they acquired a couple of other firms.
Yeah.
A bunch of
So, and the architect we work with has their own. It's not to say that the project, the long and short of it is we don't have the money to finish the project anyway at this time. But we get money from the plan, so it's a little bit.
But the 400,000 was about.
Pretty much ask for a grant. So I think it's just moving at the speed of what we normally get out of here.
Well, I am because it's not, if it's a true subdivision, and I have no kids, I don't believe it's.
So in-house, I would be
That's about our years, but it's.
Somebody could ask this conversation. I don't know, it's just.
started getting cold, at least as we're closed session, it was like
Oh, I'm gonna put my jacket back on. This thing on too.
a little bit of
So
warm
you've been
weather.
traveling? Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Spring's here.
No, never before. When I first moved back there, my friends were telling me, don't be fooled by March. Cause you kind of feel like you want to get some plants out.
I'm sure there's so much to the process that's not tangible that us lay folk are just gonna have to.
I should be better. I did hear my most of it. I did move away for a while.
You know somebody.
Oh,
Every year. Yeah, always. I guess I'm just.
Get in there.
And so, but I talked to them my last shows and,
Basically, it's Santa Rosa.
Oh,
but we didn't talk about
She
just
no move.
saying hi and the brothers.
I think it's just all, but not moving so fast.
yeah.
Maybe we haven't sent any sense of urgency behind it, you don't have to push it through.
Getting married September 13th.
Get her done.
It's actually, they make a great couple because she loves
What else? Nobody wants anything exciting. From work, excited. Yeah. So, normally when you have an exciting day, it's like you're how have you been?
I was talking about the last couple of days, so. It was good. It's all like a
Your neck got too wide now. You get to that grand. Way more things than you ever. You can actually.
so like, I felt like it's
We've been getting our, I mean, visible. Well, so.
Just something.
I just want to leave.
Think about.
He said he was hired every 3.5 hours.
No, I wasn't telling my husband, actually. His parents had said.
But he's comfortable enough where he can take time off. But he's also a caretaker. And he's I mean, I wouldn't regret him leaving the absence.
My husband said it was nice, because like,
We're already kind of it seems there to sell.
just say,
Way up here, see? It's not all, but it is, 90% of it is checking.
All right, we're at 6:02. Call everyone back to the table.
I'll call everyone back to the middle for you. I can't hear from back there.
Oh, well, we like having fun.
You love
Okay, so, go ahead and unmute.
You're unmuted.
All right. So our next item, it is labeled as CSBA Board Policy 7151, but it is actually just a board policy. This did not come from CSBA. So, Mr. Harris, can you, there were some revisions to this?
Yes.
That are different from the one that was up
Right.
right through this afternoon. So can you take us through what this?
So you actually have the original policy that was brought to the board, that's up there, and then, our friends who were here, and Tom and I met on Tuesday, and, I have to give them huge credit for this. Lauren, Amy, Andromeda went through, along with Amanda, and really said, okay, does the process make sense? Does the flow make sense? Where can we tweak some of the things? Where can we make it better? They made some great edits to it, and I think that this policy really reflects what you as a board wanted to see brought forward, and then they provided a good chunk of community input on it as well. So as we go through, there haven't been any massive changes, and I honestly, I would invite any of you to talk about any changes that are there that you would like to point out, and Tom, if you have any either. I think we may have wordsmithed a couple of very small components to it, but the format is basically still the same. As the site administrator submits that proposal to the M&O director, they make sure that it's feasible. It goes to the fiscal director to make sure that the funding is there to do the work. And then if it has to go beyond that, whether that's to a tribal council, whether that's to an outside agency, whether that's to Hmong Cultural Center or the Hmong Association, it does, and then it comes back, and then it gets approved by the board. You'll see references in there to different forms. The forms have not been made and won't be made until the board adopts the policy. Once the policy's been adopted, we'll create those forms. I think some of the most intentional pieces in here are timelines. So Nikki, if you go down just a bit, time frame. So once the maintenance and operations director gets the request, they basically have 20 days to reach out, to ask, business days, to reach out, to ask questions, to go to the site, to take a look around, to see if it makes sense, if it's doable. If the answer is yes, that then goes to the fiscal director, who's got 10 business days to make sure that there's funding there, to be able to ask those questions, to look into the system. Once they've approved it, if there are any other approvals that need to be done, the maintenance and operations director has another 10 days. What this does is it doesn't let a project sit for 3 or 4 or 5 months. So it goes through this process. And then right underneath that, there's a little caveat that I think we all, knowing how public, entities work, if extensions are required, we're just gonna make sure that we communicate. And we talked a little bit about the fact that this would be a process that in all likelihood, if not all, then most would go into FMX, so we'd be able to track that process.
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah. And then, again, just going through here, you can see what the requirements for design review are. Again, most of this wasn't changed, but it was cleaned up and made better by the conversation. So again, I just want to thank the 4 of them for meeting with us.
Looking at it, that chapter with the timelines, I think that was good because it is, you don't want something just to sit around to go on and on and on. Let's get something done. Quit having meetings and do the job.
Yep.
So I do have, I have one wordsmith thing that just, it's kind of bugging me because it's like the first paragraph and.
Well, that's why it's here for you.
Yeah, so, that first sentence, you've got ensure things twice. It's really awkward. So you're effectively implementing, you're ensuring consistency, and then we're gonna ensure the best possible results. So if we can kind of consolidate that sentence a little bit and not use the word ensure quite so many times.
Okay.
But I do have an actual real question. So it goes to the maintenance and operations director, and it only moves forward under this if he says, yeah, it's feasible here. What is the mechanism for if it's not feasible? And he says no. Is there then a mechanism where the requester can say, well, but wait a minute, you know what?
the appeal process.
And it, well, yeah, I'm not sure it's an
Well,
appeal process,
so-
but it's like,
Yes.
it feels weird for that to be able to be the,
Well,
They
so,
can come to the board.
so really, at any point, if somebody says no, there is a, do you guys remember where it was in here?
Failure to,
Failure to receive approval,
further down.
further down.
Further down,
Yes, the
Oh,
down towards the
Keep
bottom.
going, keep going,
expansion of
Sorry.
extension.
keep going, keep going, keep going, right there.
Failure to receive.
So if anybody says no, there's a written reason for denial, recommendation for any revisions that need to happen. And if it is still a no, then it comes to me for reconsideration. And then it's only final for a specific piece, right? I mean, and one of the conversations we were having is if we want to remove a wall so that we can build something, right? The answer may be no, and there is no revision. And if it comes to me and says, no, we really want to remove this wall, it's like, no, we're not going to remove a wall. What are some options? One of the conversations we had is most of this really, there really shouldn't be a denial because they're working with people all through that first 20-day process. So people have the opportunity to make adjustments, right? And then at the end, if it truly is, we just can't do this, the very last line, so significant changes can be presented in a new application process if necessary. So if we need to do something else, if it's too big, we just say, let's pull the plug on this one, let's come up with something else, right? Instead of building a round door, because we can't knock out the wall, maybe we can just paint the equivalent around an existing door or something. You know, but we can talk about what that looks like.
Is there a point you can go to the board and the board can override?
Well, you could.
Yeah.
so that would be my, this failure to receive approval, where it says the decision of the superintendent or designee shall be final for the specific proposal. That feels like, number one, if it's a yes, it still has to come to the board.
Right.
So and if it's a no, they should be able to appeal to the board. So it really isn't final. The superintendent isn't the final say.
Semi-final.
Semi-final.
Well, but I mean, that depends on what you want, right? Because if and I'm gonna be blunt, if the board wants to override maintenance and operations and fiscal and the superintendent
We might want to.
and the tribes,
Right?
for everybody else, then I would recommend you go back and look at all of the other board policies that say the decision of the superintendent is final. Because this would not be the only policy that says that.
No, and I understand that, but I'm also, I would be uncomfortable, maybe not with you, but with a superintendent at some point saying absolutely yes to a project, and us as a board not knowing what the heck you're doing.
No, so I think there's two different pieces. So this is only failure to receive approval. So if maintenance and operations or fiscal or tribal agency or community agency who's involved says no, then it comes to the superintendent to say this plan won't go to the board. That's all this is. If it's a yes, it has to come to the board.
I don't think that that's clear, the way
So-
that's written.
Well, but this paragraph says failure to receive approval.
I think it's clear.
If you,
Earlier.
if you go up, Nikki, right there, this is the process. So maintenance and operation departmental board of education approval, this is the approval process. If it's denied at any point along this way, it goes into the denial process.
I understand that, but the denial process, the way I read that is, it's a workaround. Because if it goes into the denial process, then the decision, the final decision is taken away from the board and the superintendent's decision is final.
Only the decision to deny the project moving forward.
Can we just write that in? So this, if the superintendent denies, then the decision is final. If the superintendent says yes, then it has to come to the board. That's what I'm looking at.
Oh, so go back down, Nikki. So maybe a statement right there that just says,
Because you're right now, sorry, don't, go ahead.
well, no, I was just gonna say, before that second to last sentence, if it said to the superintendent for reconsideration, if the superintendent or designee, approves the project moving to the board, it will be taken to the board at the next scheduled board meeting for, consideration. If it is, if the appeal is denied, the decision of the superintendent is final.
So I think I would be okay if it said a decision of the superintendent or designee to deny the specific proposal shall be final. I think that makes it clear that it's just the denial that
Under
you have
that.
the final say on.
Okay. So instead of the decision, a denial.
Yeah, a denial is final. Because then it would be, we really would be overriding
So
anything.
a denial by the superintendent or designee shall be final for this specific proposal.
Yes, I like that.
So we just want to change it to a denial by.
Yes,
Okay.
That makes sense.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, for the moment.
Other than that first or second sentence.
Other than that
okay.
first sentence, yeah, you gotta fix that, but yes. Okay, any other questions? Nitpicking, or am I the head of nitpicking tonight?
Well, you weren't here when we had this conversation last.
That is true.
Board meeting.
That is true. All right, so we'll go ahead and open this up for public comment.
Hi. Hello, Lauren Cortez, parent of a student at Smith River Elementary. I just want to really thank Jeff Harris and Tom Kissinger for coming and collaborating with the LOC from Smith River. All the parent leaders on that group, Amanda O'Connell and, oh my goodness.
Sarah Campbell.
Thank you, Sarah Campbell. Sarah, I'm sorry. I just want to thank them for all of their work. Our lead organizer that helps us, Andromeda Lopez, our site administrator, Nicole Cochran, because it's taken a lot of work to get to this place. And we do appreciate a clear process being adopted by the board. So that way projects that we're leading, but also other community members and parents that are leading, have a clear process to reference. Like I said, we had been working on this since April, so to have it in black and white, what's expected for us to go forward is really nice. And I do really appreciate the time that was taken to collaborate with us on this process, so thank you.
Thank you.
And
Anyone,
there's no online public comment?
anybody else in the room? Okay, bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
I would make,
I'll move to approve with the corrections discussed.
Second.
Both we never settled on the discussion of the first line. The correction.
We don't even want to, we're just gonna
But
trust
we're just
Jeff.
gonna
Okay.
trust that he's an English
His-
teacher.
Can
He should know how to
can you
make a
specify
decent
that the decision of the.
Just add commas.
Well, just squish it down,
Squish it down, okay.
squish it down.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No. You
Okay.
need to hijack my motion.
so,
It's
So-
made.
yeah, and I,
Abby made and Mike seconded.
Yep.
So we do have a motion and a second. Could you poll, please?
Mr. Margarino,
Yes.
Mr. MacArthur,
Yes.
Mrs. Christ,
Yes.
Mr. Greer,
Yes.
Mrs. Maisie,
Yes.
Ms. Audrey, what is your preference?
Yes.
All right. Yay. Thank you for all your help.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, creation of a committee to revise board policy 6112.
no, we're already there.
We're already there.
So at the last board meeting, Abby had mentioned wanting to take a closer look at the use of instructional minutes during the school day. And So this has been placed on here to kind of meet that need. And it's really a short-term committee to look at policy 6112, which is school day. So what I'm recommending is that the board appoint 2 members to lead an ad hoc committee to review the policy and make recommendations for final revisions to the board as a whole. I would also recommend, it doesn't need to be part of the motion, but if the board does create the ad hoc committee, I would really recommend also including instructional staff and site principals in that discussion.
Okay. So who else on the board would be interested in serving, well, who would be interested in serving on this?
I would.
And I am willing, although I am certainly willing to defer to anybody that has an intense interest in instructional minutes.
Yeah.
It's a short term.
Who was?
Frank
Oh,
is.
okay, all right, good, all right.
Frank is. And then I too would like to see a teacher and a site administrator as part of it. I don't know if they would have to have time to sit down and kind of go through the wording and all that, but certainly somebody to talk to about it. So that would be something we'd have to follow up on.
Yeah, and we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So would someone like to make a motion to the effect of, oh yeah, that's right. Any public comment?
Hi. Amy Campbell Blair from True North, but also a parent of a Bess Maxwell student and a Crescent House student. And I would be interested in making sure that there is parent and student representation in some way on this subcommittee, whether it's on the committee or just consulting. So I'm happy to follow up about what you guys think. What you guys think.
That's what you were asking for, right?
You just volunteered.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it, but I would also like to make sure we have student representation.
Yeah.
I can be student representation.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
We have our committee, well, part of it.
Part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Maybe not.
thank you.
Somebody
Thanks.
contact me.
All right, that was quick.
Yeah. All right, any other public comment?
There's no further public comment?
Okay.
Do I have to get up to ask if it will be a public meeting?
Is it a public meeting?
The ad hoc?
It would be, I mean, there's no reason not to. But does it, it doesn't have to be agendized.
I would think it would be, my thought process is, I just wanna talk to some people about it, figure out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and then present something, and we could present something publicly,
Yeah, so an ad hoc meeting is pretty much Brown Act exempt. So no 72-hour notice, no posting agendas. And it really is kind of advisory, so it's pulling people together saying, tell us what you think. So however the committee decides to do that, whether that is having the conversations, gathering the information, doing a presentation at a board meeting, or then opening up the committee to doing a broader presentation to do that. But I think the 2 board members could decide that.
Okay, so we don't know yet.
I'll be here.
Are you volunteering?
Would there be teacher representation?
Yes,
So,
we want teacher
well,
representation.
I don't know if you want me though, because I don't really have a dog in the show anymore.
Oh, she feels that she it's the
but-
horse getting to the barn soon, right?
But definitely having teacher input, because, we're the ones that this would really affect
I think a
working with our
teacher,
classrooms. And
a teacher and a site administrator.
because there are minutes by the state that we have to have, and then there's the 180-day student contact days. So we really have to go within those parameters. And the kids do need a recess during the day, and we need a potty break. So you kind of have to build this in too.
Yeah, no, definitely, I'd love to have a teacher. And a site administrator, we'll have to work out.
Yeah.
what that might be.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion now?
I'll move to approve the ad hoc committee
And appoint,
and appoint Frank and Abby.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Could you poll, please?
I'm sorry, I did not hear who made the second.
Oh, Frank did.
Thank you. Mr. Margarito.
Yes.
Mr. MacArthur.
Yes.
Mrs. Chris.
Yes.
Mr. Freer.
Yes.
Mrs. Maisy.
Yes.
Ms. Audrey, what is your preference?
Yes.
Okay, election of candidate for the 2026 ballot for CSBA Delegate Assembly.
All right, well, Mike or Frank could probably talk, or Don could talk to this better than I can, but it's time to do a vote. If you go down, Nikki, to the bottom, click on the delegate. Keep going down. Keep going down. So right there you go. They are looking for a delegate for Subregion 1A, Humboldt Del Norte. They received no nominations for someone to fill this slot. So if someone from this board would like to be written in as a write-in candidate, all we need is a motion to be made, or if you know of someone else on another board that you would like to volunteer, you can do that as well.
I did it for 5 years, director of CSBC, California.
I did it for a couple of years, I don't even know how many years, and I haven't seen my sister since I left.
So I'm out this time.
Yeah.
Anybody else interested in doing it? No?
I'll ask my sister.
I still am,
I know you are.
as a county.
Yeah, you're on the county.
I'm on the county, so
I think I was
I'm already
county.
there as a delegate.
No, you were the district, you were the Subregion 1A delegate for the
Remember getting
district,
food poisoning?
and Mike was on the county.
I do remember getting food poisoning. I also haven't been back for
That was the last time I saw you.
Frank was on board of directors. I was sitting on the Soups Council. So, nobody?
Not this time.
I don't even remember this being sent out to us.
Well, you wouldn't have seen the vote, because the vote only comes to the
I
board.
didn't even see the
Yeah.
fact that it was open.
Oh, yeah, it was
So it must
That
be-
might be why they
months
didn't
ago.
get any nominations.
I would have ignored it anyway.
All right.
I
so-
enjoyed it, I think it's a worthwhile
Yeah,
thing
it's
to do.
really, I enjoyed it too.
You
Be
can
a little
enjoy
while.
it again.
I could. My problem is that it interferes with the academic year, and so I just, screws me up.
And it does involve some traveling,
A lot of traveling.
Yeah, that's why.
and so forth, so.
Drive to Sacramento 4 times a year.
No, thank you.
Well, that's an easy drive.
That is.
It's the ones down to San Diego where they expect you.
You fly there.
So if nobody wants it, if you don't have a vote, then it just dies for lack of a motion, and we can move on.
Okay, let's move on. All right, we have this designate board point of contact for each school.
Yeah, so this came up a while back, right? All 5 board members get an email about a particular school. Which board member responds? Board members can't all respond to a particular constituent at the same time, because it could create a hub and spoke, a daisy chain. I mean, there could be all kinds of different things that happen that are Brown Act violations. So to kind of make sure that folks knew which board member they could reach out to for a particular purpose, my recollection was that the board had said, well, some of the districts have a particular, one school, others have multiples, and so you had discussed the possibility of assigning schools to individual board members, so that folks knew who to reach out to in the event that they had a question or a concern or something like that. And it was a very clear line of communication. So that's why this is here. It's been on the future items for a long time, and everybody's here, so go for it.
Why don't we go in the district? I have District 3.
I'm in favor of
And I
that.
can take care of my district.
Because I have all.
Except Abby, she can handle another one, right?
You know, I
I
tell you.
have one school.
You have one school. So, who's got more than, I got 3.
Who does Sunset belong to you? Because it's
I
on that
don't know, I
side
don't
of
think
it.
so. That side,
Well,
that side of the railroad tracks?
It's whichever side of Lake Earl that it's on.
Oh, okay,
I'm
then
not sure.
that's fine.
Okay, I think I
So I
have
got
Redwood
four.
and Pine Grove, I think is fine.
And that's unrealistic for you.
I have to
That's
look
why
at the boundaries.
you can go ahead and share some of those out even.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But-
I'll take the three.
Well, wait a second. I wanna weigh in here, because, I have a reservation about doing this at all. And the reservation is that it seems to me, and I will tell you a little bit of history. I was talking to, one of my colleagues at the college who, was on the board. He left before I got on. But he was telling me that there was a situation where there were a bunch of board members who were going around and they were identifying the schools, and they were going to their schools, and then they were coming back to the superintendent saying, you need to do this, and do this, and the other thing. And what they were doing was interfering with the management prerogatives of the board, the management responsibilities. And people were seeing them as people that took care of things at those particular schools. So I think that, and I had that experience myself. When I was first on the board, I went to parent-teacher conferences and all this kind of stuff. And I'd get buttonhole. People would say, hey, fix this, fix that. And I would go back and I'd talk to the superintendent. This is all before Jeff, so I'm not implicating him. And things would happen. And then all of a sudden I became the go-to person for things to get done. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm resourceful, and I found a work order system. And I introduced it to the superintendent. This is at the CSBA conference. And so they were placating me, I think now, but they started to institute this. And as I was listening to the conversations about it, I realized they already had a work order system, they just weren't using it.
Oh.
So the whole thing was a management issue. And what I worry about in making ourselves the point of contact for given schools is that we are inserting ourselves into the management prerogatives.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And this particular group might be able to manage that. But when I was on the board, when I started on the board, I'm gonna say this delicately, there were those who did not manage their priorities or manage their boundaries all that well. Excuse me. So there is the potential, introducing something like this, that you interject the board at an impermissible level or a complicating level in the operations of the district. In addition to which, if you start identifying particular districts with particular schools, then we just sort of start dividing. I have always appreciated how, regardless of what district people were in, we all represented all the schools.
Yeah, we're no choice.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my.
And I also remember that was a conversation that you guys had when this first came up, was like, who gets to represent the high school?
Right, yeah.
Because no matter what district you represent, all your kids go to high school.
And that language right there is what I'm concerned about. We do not represent a particular school.
Right.
And there are parents that think we should. And I don't, using that language of we represent a school, I think leads into that, well, you're not advocating for my school. You should be putting forward policies that are good for this school because you represent this school regardless of the impact on the rest of the district. So this actually came up as an idea during the conversation that we were having when we went out to Redwood, to talk about mostly about the combo class that ended up being out there. And so this was one of the things, and it was like, it sounded like an interesting idea at the time, but the more I've thought about it, the less I like it, because I do think that there is that danger of, well, this is my school, this is, I have to represent its interests. There's that expectation that gets built that you are representing schools instead of everybody in your district. I mean, there are a lot of people in my district that don't go to Redwood, that go to the high school or maybe they go to Crescent Elk, maybe they go to Smith River. Kids move around so much in this district that you're representing the people who live in your district, but the kids could be anywhere. So I kind of, we have in our, I don't remember what, or in our bylaws, I think it is, we have it's supposed to be the president that responds on behalf of the board.
And it's,
So it's me, but I rarely get, I mean, I go through and I get like 150 emails a day from people who wanna sell us something. And very few do I get from staff or parents. And when I do, I try to respond no matter who they're addressing, just to say, hey, I got this isn't me, talk to Mr. Harris, or, so I don't know that we should mess with that, that's just kind of my
Yep.
thought.
I like the idea,
it is complicated.
but
I always do.
there are a lot of things about it, both what you're saying is absolutely true. What Don said about the school board, some people think they can mess around with the day-to-day management of our schools, and that's not our job, okay? But yet, having a school, for instance, in my district, okay, I just have the one, I have Omanok. Am I gonna bring their issues here? Absolutely I'm going to. Okay, what can we do to help? Okay, for instance, changing the name of the school, okay, to what the community wants, that type of thing. But I think it's very important that we stay out of the day-to-day management, because that's not our job. What our job is to go ahead and represent our districts, the schools that are there, but I know some districts have a lot more schools than others with it. And I guess it's because I feel like being at the schools, visiting at the schools, you can go ahead and they establish a trust with the teachers, with the administration, as long as you're only doing what the school board member does. And you make it clear that you have no authority as an individual. The only authority we have is as a group. It doesn't matter if you're president, if you're clerk, or whatever. We have no authority except as a group with it. And that needs to be clear. And on it. I like the idea of representative because people need someplace or somebody to go. Many times, just recently I've heard a lot about complaints that want to be filed, and they call up and they feel like their complaints aren't being heard, and these are parents. Okay, now we can all tell them to call you, but that's not necessarily a good thing either, okay? It might just be a situation. Because I have visited a lot of schools, talked to a lot of people, if I have an issue, I take it to the superintendent and I leave it there. And that's what I tell people. That's something that, or talk to the superintendent. Because it's not I don't have the right or the legality of being able to tell people what they, that we can fix it for them. We can't do that. We can make suggestions, we can listen, and I think it's really the matter of listening to people is what I like about it. But I also realize that those very things you're talking about are very real. Very real, and I know we brought it up one time, Superintendent, when you weren't here, and talked about it. And I was gonna bring some more things, but right now, I think the parents, the community would like to have somebody that can go ahead and speak for, to do it, that they can go to. Right now, I get calls from Mountain, I get calls from Smith River, okay? I don't get many from the others, I get them from Joe Hamilton, and so forth. And I'll address those, but I'll also say, well, talk to your board member. Because once we became districts instead of county elected, now you're representing the students in that district. For me, it would be Omanok School, and because a lot of my kids, go to Joe Hamilton in my district, so it would be that. And then, of course, you've got Crescent Elk and High School, which are by themselves because we're a small community. Those are the only ones you have. I would think that for, say, Crescent Elk and the high school, and even, Sunset, that those would be ones that would not have an assigned person to that anybody could. Okay, because everybody's there. Everybody's responsible for it.
What if we did this? Because I hear both sides of the coin,
right,
Two sides.
is, yeah, let's, no, let's not, and it's a good idea, and it may turn into something else. Instead of just saying, here's your assigned person, and maybe this is not the best idea, but on the board page, where it says board members, some people may not know who their board member is. Under your,
Just-
under your pictures, because you all have
District
pictures.
is on there already.
Yeah, your district is on here, but under your pictures, what if we just listed the schools that are in that district?
Well, I have a bit of an objection to that, because I have a lot of schools.
I think we could just vote and vote it down. I don't think, I'm not hearing a lot of support for the idea.
No,
Yeah.
it's,
Just table
and
it.
that's one of the
Well,
reasons
then
I
we don't wanna
haven't
table
pushed
it
it,
again.
because there are pluses and minuses for
We've
it.
already
Yeah.
tabled it.
Or you just table it, right? You don't even have to
We've
vote on
already
it.
tabled it. I don't wanna bring it back.
Yeah.
I-
Okay.
we
No,
need
that's
to
not what
settle
we're
it.
saying, we're saying just, we're done.
No, that's what
Yeah,
he said.
that's fine.
He said table it, and I said, I don't
yeah.
wanna table it.
Okay.
Figure out a different way.
So we're either gonna take a vote to not do it, or just not do it.
Actually, just not do it, and it's a consensus of the board not to do it, and then we don't even have to take a vote.
Okay, that'll work.
Yeah.
All right.
All right,
Ta-da.
all right, so,
I know, I do that.
Now we have the
Like
easy
I said,
thing.
it's my talent.
well, so I think this may be easier than you're thinking right now, Abby.
Oh, good.
So, SiteLogic, after Dr. Jordan was here last time and did the study session,
Right.
one of the things that the board had asked was for us to bring back some different funding options, right? Because I think the board was very sensitive to the same thing Amber was talking about earlier, the price tag, right, the sticker shock. And I think it was you, Charlene, who had said, I want to see an option that has no out-of-pocket for us, right? And there's always going to be out-of-pocket
It
because,
wasn't out of pocket, it was, I wanna see a break even.
yeah,
I don't have a problem paying
What
what
we're
we
currently
would
paying.
normally pay for
Yeah.
electricity to put in something that we're investing in our own stuff. But I really can't support the amount that they were saying over that we were gonna have to.
right. And that's what I meant by
Yeah,
no
yeah.
out-of-pocket. Nothing above what we're currently paying for our
Yes.
electricity.
Yes.
And we were looking
Um,
for other assumptions too.
Right.
Yeah.
Were the assumptions correct? Was the $1 million gonna be there? What did all that look like? So, I authorized, SiteLogic staff to talk to John Isom, who's our financial advisor. They did. I talked to John, and I was asking him about what some different options were, and he said, oh, my role is just to tell you whether or not this makes sense, not to give you financing options. And I said, okay. So then I talked back to SiteLogic staff and said, this is what John said, the numbers make sense in that model. And their financing department basically said, yes, the $1 million is there, will most likely, would 99.9% be available, the feds haven't pulled that back. Without that $1 million, it makes 0 sense to move forward, because that's what keeps it, even on the sheet that we showed, that's what even made that doable. And I talked back to the SiteLogic folks and said we didn't get any options. They reached back out to Isom, the company, asking for some options. And I just heard back today that they had options and wanted to discuss them. So there are no other options other than what you saw at the study session. At this point, I haven't seen any other options.
But they said they had some.
They said they may have some other options, some net zero options, so that we wouldn't be paying any more than we're currently paying for our electrical. So I don't have anything else for you to consider tonight
So
on,
this will be very easy, we need to see when they have other options.
Could
and
I
I
ask
can,
a question though? Or is there any movement in terms of the other entities involved?
well, so remember, our piece right now was the solar field to
Right.
offset solar costs.
And then if we ever wanted to, or later on, if there were bigger pieces that came into play, then you might have the airport, the Washington corridor, and maybe the North Crest area as well, install solar, and then you would have battery backup that went in so that you would have emergency response around our schools, with the high school as the hub in this area and the district office for communications. You would have North Crest for gas, for medical care, for groceries, and then you would have North Crest for internet
You mean
and.
Washington.
I'm sorry, did I say North Crest?
Yeah.
You'd have Washington, then you'd have North
You
Crest
had
for.
North Crest going two different directions.
For internet and power, right? I don't know where they are in the mix, but our break even, I mean, our cost would have just been our cost for the solar panels. And then what we would have been doing is looking for a way to finance it so that we wouldn't be paying any more than we're currently paying anymore.
And that's what the options that you haven't had an opportunity to look at yet.
Yes.
So do you want to just put this off and look at them and come back with it?
Yes.
I would recommend that if you're interested in moving forward. I think if that's what we need to do, we're gonna have to do that relatively expeditiously. I know that they were concerned that if we waited too long, the million wouldn't be on the table.
Right.
And it was very clear that if that million is not on the table, we should not do it.
Well, would we be able to deal with it the next meeting?
Well, I think what I would do is I will talk to SiteLogic. I will ask them what the drop dead deadline is. And then at that point, I mean, the one thing I don't want is I don't want a hard sell rush job to do it. You need time to think about it. The public needs time to comment on it. We need to understand what those options actually are. So.
Well, and I know that part of our conversation at the beginning, and, you know, it's easy to say, go get a grant, but they haven't brought anything other than, we're just gonna finance it and pay interest. And a lot of grants will not pay you, even though they may pay for a project, they won't pay for you to pay off a loan on a project that you've already gone into. So I feel like they haven't even said that, yes, we've looked at this, and this, to see where we might be able to get money that we don't have to pay back. So, yeah, I think we need more options on that.
And one other piece of information that I'm interested in is, he talked a bit about mandates, that we're gonna be required to do stuff like this.
Right,
eventually.
for modernization and new construction, you're required to have solar offset, or.
Yeah, so I'm curious as to when those kick in and.
They're in.
But then somebody said Redwood's modernization was in before that happened. So.
Right, before the requirement, so there's no ex post facto. If it was already in, if it was already approved, you're good to go. So where we already have modernization that's been approved, we don't have to have that offset. Anything new we applied for, like if the Performing Arts Center gets built in the next couple of years, we're gonna have to have offset for that. If we do a massive modernization at one of our other schools, we're gonna have to show that we have that offset.
Okay.
But that could be installing something at that site.
Okay, I think I understand that better now, okay.
So my recommendation would just be, let me get more information, and then,
It isn't easy.
but
Yeah.
I'm very uncomfortable with, honestly, I'm very uncomfortable with having another special meeting, unless it's a special meeting even at night, because I don't want the public to think or to feel like the board is doing something behind your back. So.
No, I understand that, and, yeah, part of that is, yeah, the more I feel pushed on something, the less likely I am to do it, so.
Right.
All right, so we're gonna table that until we have more information.
Yep.
All right, now we are to our last item, adoption of resolution number D252616, closing the achievement gap. So, Michael, go ahead.
Okay, CSBA has decided to question the state legislature and state agencies on accountability. And this is part of their plan, is they would like to see a comprehensive, coordinated, state-level plan to support local education. That's supposedly what this does. I'll be honest, I brought it to you because we were asked to bring it to you. Personally, I don't agree with it, the way it's set up. I think it's just so generic and so general that it doesn't really talk about some of the things and how things should be done. But they asked us to bring it, and that's why I brought it to you. You know, it's basically, like I say, it's to supposedly closing the achievement gap, which to me is just a word they're using for accountability. And it goes on, talks a little bit about the overall issue of the 5.8 million students, and the differences and so forth, but it doesn't really address it. I believe the superintendent has a different opinion.
No, I don't have a different opinion about this necessarily. I think what I shared with Mike and Charlene during planning was one of the conversations that we've been having as the state system of support redesign team is the system of support is broken, right? I have the picture up on my wall in my office. When you go across the top and you list out everybody who's part of the system of support, they talk, but everybody has a different responsibility, and nobody's accountable to anybody else. The State Board of Ed is not accountable to us for anything they're demanding. CCEE, half the people who are told you need to work with CCE don't know what CCE does. They're a $50 million a year government offshoot that came out about 2014, 2017, somewhere in there. You've got the State Department of Education that is so dysfunctional that the governor in his trailer bill actually recommended resigning the state superintendent of schools to largely ceremonial or board-related duties, and making them a voting member of the State Board of Ed, but then actually bringing on a
commission,
like a commissioner of education to oversee the Department of Ed, to actually do the work that the Department of Ed should do, so it's not a career politician. And talking about reciprocal accountability. So if districts are responsible for making sure that students are getting served and for achieving, how are county offices held accountable for serving districts? And how are GEO leads responsible for serving counties? And how is CCEE responsible for serving GEO leads? And how is the State Board of Ed or the CDE responsible for serving GEO leads and CCE? So really, from this big diaspora of services, bringing a real through line into state services and holding every level of that accountable, not just saying district, classroom teacher, site principal, you're accountable, without having any accountability for the billions of dollars that are being spent to hold them accountable, right? So I think this is what this is getting at, but like Mike said, this is pretty broad. And I know they've been talking to people, but CSBA is not even at the table with us as we're talking about this internally. So I don't know to what level they're hearing it. And quite honestly, I'm glad that we're at the table, because we're speaking on behalf of small, rural, remote counties, single district counties. But by the same token, this is being done by people who have a vested interest in the outcome, and they're pushing for it to end up a certain way. So,
You know, when I read it, I couldn't figure out what the way is that they're trying
It's being
to get it.
facilitated by the agencies that's in the.
that's the problem, Don.
In the line.
Is it doesn't talk about that through line of reciprocal accountability for all the agencies,
Okay.
and who's responsible, right? Because CDE really should be compliance and strategy setting. CCEE should be boots on the ground accountability, and they should both be accountable to the State Board of Education. And then you should have this really, like I said, straight through line with, and I know this is oversimplifying it, but basically rubrics, just like the dashboard that we have for schools or districts. There should be a dashboard for how well is CCE providing support. There's not, but there's millions and millions of dollars that are being spent on these agencies with no measurable outcome for our kids. And we're trying to make ends meet on declining budgets. And all they're doing is turning around and in some cases charging us for the work they're getting paid to do, so.
Dictating stuff that they don't pay for.
Yeah.
I just felt that as a delegate, that I should bring forth the things they do.
Yeah,
All right, just table it.
Well, what I would like
Yeah.
to suggest is, I don't think it's a bad idea to adopt a resolution around that kind of accountability model, but I don't like this particular resolution because it is very vague, and I'm gonna start to begin to try to plan to maybe do something. But what I'm concerned about is you've got CSBA who has their idea about how we're gonna have accountability, and you have the governor who has his idea, and then you've got,
What governor? Do we have one?
we can have one for a minute.
And then you have CTA.
And then you
that's
have
part of that, yeah.
CTA, and you've got, I mean, everybody has their own ideas, so I feel like we should be more specific about, you know, the model that Jeff said, that group that he's working on seems to make sense.
Some of us
Some of-
are agreeing to that.
Some of you are agreeing to that, but we need to get, I think, behind a more specific model of this is what we wanna see, and adopt a resolution for that, and send it to CSBA and say, look, you need to get behind this, send it to whoever.
It's probably something we should put on the ballot. Make them accountable.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
Probably something go on the ballot.
quite honestly, the sticking point for all of us is how do you hold legislature accountable? Because it's the legislature that does the vast majority, even if you could get the through line between the state agencies, it's legislature who comes back in and writes a law because their next door neighbor had a problem in a kindergarten class
yeah.
that affects every kindergarten class in the state, no matter where you are, right?
Or a legislator from a urban area
Yes.
Yeah.
writes a rule that boxes up operations in a rural.
Oh, exactly. Well, like right now, Shasta County Office of Education, as our GEO lead, was supposed to be providing service for us for the last 5 or 6 years. And not one person from Shasta County came over until last June, at which point they were required to come over here because we pitched a fit and said, how dare we bring all these people from the state in? How dare we bring our people in and not the people who were supposed to be providing service for the last 6 years? And then they showed up and they were like, yeah, I'm new, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, and I think this goes to the unfunded mandates issue, and like Abby was saying, that we have individuals in a classroom who are creating a problem, and we have services to provide, but we don't have resources to provide the services.
So yeah, so again, I think your options here are to call a vote yes or vote no, or just not take action.
I like the idea of Charlene writing a new resolution.
I would read that.
I think we should.
Or that's another one, is as a board, and that's not bad, is to write a letter to CSBA to say, while we agree, we don't believe this resolution meets the needs of our board.
Okay,
I deliver it to them.
Yeah, I feel like we need to say something, but I think our advocacy energy needs to be spent thoughtfully and not just on whatever CSBA puts out there.
I like the idea of putting a letter to it.
Yeah. All right, is there any public comment on this?
There's no public comment at this time.
Okay. So do we wanna just
I'd
not?
like to make a motion
Oh, all right.
that we reject this resolution and ask staff to write a letter saying we agree with the premises, but not the model that they're describing. Something that way to know that we want something more specific.
Do we have a motion? Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Could you poll, please?
Mr. Margulian?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mrs. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mrs. Maisie?
Yes.
Ms. Audrey, what is your preference?
Yes.
Okay, last item is board agenda planning.
Who's up next?
Who's up next? Do you know?
I think it's, I follow Mike. Was it Mike last?
Mike was last.
I think it might be
Do I
you.
have notes? Board planning meeting, if or when they ask to schedule, Frank Margarito is next on the rotation.
No, Frank is.
Oh, are you sure about that?
Read my notes.
So we meet on the, this is February. This is not gonna help me, although it is the same dates.
Same dates.
We meet on the 12th, so I usually like to meet on the Friday before, Friday around, on the 6th.
That's a good question.
And right now I'm open all day.
You know, like, my best time that day, I have one-on-one meetings with a number of staff. I'm free from 12 to 1,
I can do that. Friday,
Friday the
Six.
6th.
I'll do that.
Does that work?
What time did you say?
12 to 1? Yeah, my only other time is 3, but
Yeah, that's not
I know that doesn't work for you.
good. Okay. There being no further business before this board, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
And for those of you who